Hi guys, freebellyhouseclasses.com here again for another class. Today's video I'm going to be focusing on the common mistakes that a lot of people make when they do a choo-choo shimmy, okay? Choo-choo shimmy is one of the hardest shimmies actually to do, and if you don't remember which one this is, I'm going to show it to you guys very quickly. The basic posture is up straight with the chest, up on the toes really as high as you can, lifting those heels and bending the knees, okay? And what happens in a choo-choo shimmy is that we are moving, or you don't have to move, but we are stepping in, so you can step in the same spot, or you can move side to side, you can step forward, back, in a circle, whatever you want. So we're taking those tiny little steps on our toes, and then we're moving the hips up and down. But the hip movement here is really a small motion. We're not taking a big we're not making a big lift. It's tiny little motion up and down, up and down, up and down. So that's the basic technique, okay? Now, of course, it's not called a shimmy until you speed it up. So when we speed it up, it would look like this. Okay? So that's done fast. Now, let's talk about the common mistakes that people make when they're like, oh, I can't get the choo-choo shimmy. If you feel like you can do it, but you can't keep it for too long, or you can't hold it for too long, that's okay. That's not necessarily a mistake, you know, that's just, you're getting tired, and eventually you will with a choo-choo shimmy. So don't take that personally, and that is not a mistake. But when it comes to form, the biggest mistakes I see a lot of people make is the posture. It's really key to bend your knees. If you don't bend your knees, it's not gonna happen, okay? Because the motion of the hip up and down requires the knees to move. So if you're locking your knees, you cannot lift your hips up and down, okay? But when we bend the knees, it's really a small bend, because we still want to look like we're, you know, a little straight with our posture. So we don't want, you know, this kind of movement. So it's a tiny little bend in the knees. So that's the biggest mistake I see, is people not bending their knees. The other mistake, and this is more about posture than anything else, is people start to drop their upper body forward. So when they're so focused on the legs and then they look like this, make sure you push your chest forward and bring your shoulders back and really focus on staying straight, like you have a book on your head or something on your head, and then you gotta keep it straight. And that's not a bad idea to practice with. It's to put something on your head and try to keep your head as stable as you can. It's a little tricky, it's gonna fall once in a while, but at least it gives you a feel of how your posture and your upper body should be like, okay? So that's the second mistake. Do not let your upper body fall forward, even though it tends to feel like it's a natural thing and it will eventually happen to you. The other thing that's kind of one of the actual biggest mistakes I see is the distance between the footwork. If you really go back to the video where I taught you guys how to do the choo-choo shimmy for the first time, one of the things that I insisted on was to make sure that your feet stay as close together as possible. Meaning, when you start to travel side to side, don't take these big steps like this. Because what happens is that your upper body is going to start rocking, and that's just going to kill it. The form obviously is not going to look good, but also it's really hard to move your hips fast when you take big steps, okay? We want the hip motion to be small, which means that the steps must be small, and for them to be small and still keep that nice frame, they have to be close together, okay? So make sure that you keep the distance between your toes really, really small. And what I want you to imagine in this one, which may be just a little trick here to help you guys out, is when you're standing like this and you see the distance here between my toes, it's really small. My goal is, as I move, I gotta maintain the same distance. So if I take a step to the side, you're like, close that gap, close the gap, close the gap, close the gap, close the gap, constantly keeping that distance really small and about the same, okay? So don't take the big steps like, you know, like you're trying to run, you know? So tiny little steps as much as you can. The other thing also that I see a lot of people do is that they lift their feet a little bit too high off the floor to move with a choo-choo shimmy. Don't do that. Make sure that you're actually almost sliding. The only time you kind of feel like you have to kind of lift your foot, but it's a tiny lift, is when you're doing a choo-choo shimmy standing in the same spot. You know, you kind of have to kind of lift and drop like this, but it's a small lift, as you can see, right? But if you're moving side to side or in a circle or front back or whatever, however you want to move, make sure you slide as much as you can instead of walking, okay? Excuse me. The other thing also that I see a lot of people make is, of course, the hip motion. you know that your hips have to move with the Choo shimmy, but you really don't know which direction or how. So remember what I told you guys, it's an up and down motion, but it's really, really small. Don't try to make it big, okay? It's a tiny little motion that happens in the hip. So make sure it's an up and down motion. It's not a twist, because a lot of people are like this. They just want to move their hips, and so it was just like any way you can. And sometimes it's like a twisted motion, or I don't know exactly what people try to do. But up and down is really what you got to focus on, and that's much more of a natural motion when you're actually moving for your feet for your knees to bend, and that generates that motion automatically in the hip of an up and down motion. So the movement technically is really natural. Don't try to make it something that it's not. And if it doesn't feel natural, then obviously you're not doing it right. It is a shimmy that really works your quads and it really works your calves. So be very patient as far as building the strength in those muscles. And you know, just keep doing it and stop whenever you need to. Shake those legs a little bit and then keep on going till eventually you get stronger and you can maintain it and hold it for a long time. But Choo shimmy is definitely a hard shimmy to do. Okay, so hopefully these little pointers will help you guys out. Make sure that your Choo shimmy is in the right form and that it gets a little bit better as well. But remember, practice is key of all these moves. And if they don't look good the first time, give it some time and eventually they'll be there, as long as you're using the right technique. So hopefully this is helpful. If you guys have any questions, make sure you post them on the website, freebellydanceclasses.com. See you next time. Bye.